Who invented the telephone? Most people know the name Alexander Graham Bell. His name is tied to the invention. It is taught in schools, it is in history books, but what if the story is more complicated? What if Bell was not the only one? What if others were closer, or even first? The truth about who invented the telephone is messy. It involves many people. It involves legal battles. It involves money, a lot of money. It makes you wonder about how history gets written. Sometimes the person who gets the credit is not the one who started it all, or even the one who finished it. Sometimes it is the one with the best lawyers, or the best connections, or the one who was simply at the right place at the right time. Many inventors were working on ways to send voices over wires. This was in the mid-1800s. The telegraph was already a big thing. It sent messages, but not voices. People wanted to send voices. They dreamed of it. It seemed like magic. This idea was in the air. Many smart people were trying to make it happen. They were experimenting with electricity. They were trying to capture sound waves. Then they tried to send them, and then turn them back into sound. This was a very hard problem to solve. The story of the telephone is not a simple one. It is not one person having one big idea, then building one thing, then showing it to the world. It is a story of parallel efforts. It is a story of near misses. It is a story of heartbreak for some. It is a story of great success for others. And it is a story that makes us look closer at how inventions really happen. It makes us question the simple stories we are told. This look at the telephone's origin will show a different picture. It will show other names. Names you might not know. These people played a huge part. Their work was important. Maybe even vital. Their efforts helped build the foundation. Or they came so close to the final prize. They deserve their place in the story. They deserve to be remembered. Not just Bell, but many others too. Antonio Meucci lived in Staten Island, New York. He was an Italian immigrant. He had big ideas. He worked on many things. He was not rich. He struggled financially. But he was an inventor. He was a thinker. He experimented a lot, and he was working on something special. Something like a telephone. This was in the 1850s, long before Bell. Meucci called his device a teletrafono. He made it to help his wife. She suffered from rheumatism. She had trouble moving around. She was often sick in bed. It was hard for them to talk from different rooms, so Meucci wanted a way to communicate with her. He set up an electric speaking tube. It connected his workshop to her bedroom. This was a true practical need, not just an abstract idea. His device used an electromagnet. It vibrated a diaphragm. That diaphragm turned sound into electric signals. Then it sent those signals over a wire. At the other end, another diaphragm turned the signals back into sound. It worked. He could hear his wife. She could hear him. It was rough. It was imperfect, but it was a working telephone system. He showed it to people. He even demonstrated it in public. People saw it work. Meucci needed money. He wanted to develop his invention further. He wanted to file a full patent. But patents cost money. Money he did not have. So, in 1871, he filed a patent caveat. A caveat is like a notice of intention. It says, I am working on this. I intend to file a full patent later. It protects your idea for a short time. He renewed it for 2 years, but then in 1874, he could not afford to renew it again. He was broke. Around this time, Meucci approached Western Union. He gave them models of his teletrafono. He gave them drawings. He asked them for help. He wanted them to fund his work. He hoped they would see the potential. But Western Union did nothing. They kept his materials. Then they said they lost them. They never returned his models or papers. This was a big problem for Meucci. Bell later got his patent in 1876. He also worked with Western Union. Many years later, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a resolution. This was in 2002. It honored Meucci. It recognized his pioneering work. It stated that he had invented the telephone. It acknowledged his struggles. It talked about his lack of money. It said this kept him from keeping his patent caveat and from developing his invention commercially. Meucci tried to sue Bell. He tried to prove he was first. But he was poor. He was old. He died before the case was finished. His story is sad. It is a story of a brilliant mind, but a person who lacked the resources. He had the invention. He had the working device. But he did not have the money. He did not have the power. He lost his place in history for a long time. His legacy was overshadowed. His is a clear example. It shows that invention is not just about the idea. It is about timing. It is about money. It is about knowing the right people. Meucci had the idea, he had the working model, but he lost out. He lost his claim to a giant invention, all because of a few dollars. Elisha Gray was another important person. He was a well-known electrical engineer. He was a prolific inventor. He worked a lot on telegraphy. He owned many patents. He was very smart, and he was also working on a telephone. He was very close to Bell, maybe even too close. Gray's work focused on variable resistance. This was a key part of making a telephone work. You need to change the electric current. You need to change it in a way that matches the sound waves. He developed a liquid transmitter. This device used a needle. The needle moved in a liquid. It changed the resistance of the circuit. This changed the electric current. This was a very clever way to turn sound into electricity. Then came the famous day, February 14th, 1876. This date is central to the telephone story. On this morning, Elisha Gray's lawyer went to the U.S. Patent Office. He filed a patent caveat for a telephone. It described Gray's liquid transmitter. It showed how it could transmit speech. Gray wanted to protect his idea. He was getting ready to file a full patent. But on the very same day, Alexander Graham Bell's lawyer also went to the patent office. Bell's lawyer filed Bell's full patent application for a telephone. It described a different method. It used an electromagnetic approach, but the timing was incredibly suspicious. Both men filed on the same day, hours apart. There is a big debate about what happened next. Some believe Bell or his lawyers saw Gray's caveat, or they knew about it. Bell's initial patent application did not include a liquid transmitter, but later Bell's working telephone did use a liquid transmitter. This was very similar to Gray's design. This raised many questions. How did Bell learn about this? Was there an unfair advantage? Bell's original drawing showed a device that would barely work. It could transmit sound, but not clear speech. Gray's liquid transmitter was much more promising for clear speech. It was a superior design for transmitting voice. It was considered a breakthrough. And Bell's later successful telephone used a variable resistance transmitter, one that worked much like Gray's. Gray went to court. He sued Bell. He claimed Bell had taken his idea. The legal battles were long and intense. Bell had powerful backing. He had good lawyers. Gray eventually gave up. He made a settlement with Bell. Gray received a payment, but he conceded the patent to Bell. Many people believe Gray was pressured, or that he simply did not have the resources to continue the fight. This moment in history is a turning point. It shows how close Gray was. He was at the doorstep of the invention. Some say he was even ahead. He had a better design for the transmitter at that crucial time, but Bell got the patent. And that patent sealed his place in history. It secured his fame. Elisha Gray's story highlights the brutal competition in invention. It shows how a moment's delay can change everything. It shows how the legal system, and not always pure innovation, can decide who gets the credit. Wow. He was a brilliant inventor. He contributed much, but he is largely forgotten. His name is not known by most people. He was simply not the one who crossed the finish line first in the eyes of the law. Even though he was right there, the invention of the telephone was not a sudden burst of genius from one person. It was an idea that many people worked on. The scientific understanding was growing. Electrical technology was improving. Many minds were exploring how to send sounds. Not just Meucci and Gray. Others were also very close, or they laid important groundwork. One of the most important early figures was Johann Philipp Reis. He was a German teacher and scientist. This was in the 1860s, even earlier than Meucci's patent caveat. Reis built a device he called telephone. Yes, he actually coined the word telephone. He used it for his invention. Reis's telephone could transmit musical tones. It could send some spoken words, but it was not perfect for clear, continuous speech. It worked by making and breaking an electric circuit. When sound waves hit a membrane, it vibrated. This vibration would break the circuit. Then it would make it again. This sent pulses of electricity. These pulses could reproduce tones, and some words, but it was often choppy. It was not fully articulate. You could not have a smooth conversation. Reis's work was known. It was demonstrated in Europe. It showed the possibility. It proved that sound could travel over wires. It just needed refinement. It needed a better way to convert sound into electricity and back again. His work was a huge step forward. It inspired others, but he himself did not quite get to a fully practical speaking telephone. He died in 1874, 2 years before Bell's patent. There were others too. Daniel Drawbaugh was an American inventor. He lived in Pennsylvania. He claimed to have invented a telephone in the 1860s. He said he had several models. He claimed he showed them to many people. He used them in his workshop. Drawbaugh was another figure who lacked the money and resources. He was not able to file patents. He later faced the Bell Company in court. He, too, lost. The courts said his evidence was not strong enough, or it was not well enough documented. These stories show a pattern. Many bright people were on the same path. They were all trying to solve the same problem. They were all building on existing knowledge. The telegraph showed that electricity could carry messages. The next logical step was to carry voices. It was not one person suddenly having an idea out of nowhere. It was a gradual evolution. Many inventors added their piece to the puzzle. Reis showed it was possible. Meucci built a practical system for personal use. Gray developed a key component, the liquid transmitter. All of these efforts were part of the story. They were all pushing towards the same goal. The environment for invention was ripe. The understanding of electricity was growing. Materials were becoming available. This often happens in science and technology. Many people come up with similar ideas at the same time. This is called simultaneous invention. It means the conditions are just right for a breakthrough. Many intelligent minds are working on similar problems. They draw from similar knowledge. It is almost inevitable that several will get close, or even get there independently. The patent system then plays a huge role. It decides who gets the official credit. It decides who gets the legal rights. This system often favors those who have the means. It favors those who can pay for lawyers. It favors those who understand the rules. Not always the ones who had the first idea, or even the best idea. This is an important lesson from the telephone's history. Invention is a complex human activity. It is not always neat and tidy. It is often messy and unfair. Alexander Graham Bell got the credit. He got the fame. He built a giant company. But why him? Why did he win, when so many others were so close, or even arguably earlier? There are several reasons. Bell was undoubtedly a brilliant man. He was passionate about sound. He worked with the deaf. He had a deep understanding of acoustics. His knowledge was a strong base for his work on the telephone. His patent application was accepted. This was a huge deal. It gave him the legal right. It gave him the power to commercialize his invention. The timing of his filing was critical. As we saw with Elisha Gray, being a few hours ahead made all the difference. The patent office considered his application first. Bill Bell also had very strong legal support. He had powerful allies. His father-in-law, Gardner Hubbard, was a key figure. Hubbard was a wealthy lawyer. He was a businessman. He saw the potential of the telephone. He helped Bell navigate the legal system. He helped him secure funding. This was something Meucci and Drawbaugh sorely lacked. They were fighting uphill battles, alone. Bell had a team. Beyond the patent and the legal team, Bell had business acumen. Or at least his associates did. They were able to quickly commercialize the telephone. They formed the Bell Telephone Company. They began setting up telephone exchanges. They began selling telephones. They started building a network. This widespread adoption made Bell's telephone the standard. It made his name synonymous with the invention. The resources of the Bell Telephone Company were vast. They were able to defend their patent in court. They fought off hundreds of challenges. They had the money to hire the best lawyers. They could outlast their opponents. Even if an opponent had a strong claim, they might not have the money to fight for years. This legal dominance cemented Bell's position. The question of who invented it is not simple. Is it the first person to have an idea? Is it the first to build a working prototype? Is it the first to file a patent? Or is it the first to successfully turn it into a widely used product? In Bell's case, he was the first to secure the patent, and he was the one who successfully commercialized it. The story of the telephone tells us something important about invention itself. It is rarely a single, isolated event. It is often a process. It involves many steps. It involves many failures. It involves many contributors. Sometimes, the person who gets the fame is the one who brings it all together, or the one who is best positioned to exploit it. Not necessarily the one who originated every single part. History often simplifies things. It likes to tell stories of single heroes. It makes it easier to understand. But the real story is usually much richer. It is more complex. It involves more people. Acknowledging figures like Meucci, Gray, and Reis does not take away from Bell's achievement. It simply adds to the truth. It gives a fuller, more honest picture of how innovation truly happens. It reminds us that many brilliant minds contribute to progress. Some get the glory. Others remain in the shadows. But all their efforts are part of the journey.